the book. It's back. Um, it's very early. I'm not usually up early. I mean, the sun is just starting to reflect off the channel marker out there. And I just woke up this morning. I had so many thoughts, and sometimes our thoughts will get the best of us, you know. I think even for somebody like me that's probably overly confident, you know, it's human nature. Like, you want everybody to like you want everybody to want you at their parties or their birthday or their, you know, you just want people to like you. And I think having autism drop in my life, I had to sort of let that go. And so I think when we talk about the real of autism, there's so many layers that an autism family would tell you about that you just don't have any idea about. And I wouldn't have had any idea about. Last night I was at a book club with about maybe 14 women from Raleigh, lots of my husband's mother's friends and their children, and my husband grew up together. And I was there to talk about this book. And I talked about the book. But as I was talking, because I haven't done like a speaking thing since Autism Out Loud came out. So I was we had just sat down, I was getting ready, and my phone rang, and it was my editor. Waiting on my editor to call at 5. I had already discussed with everybody else, like, I have the speaking thing, what do I do? And I was like, well, what I'm going to do is try to start late so I can take the call. So I was like, excuse me, I'm going to take this call. And my editor, Erica, is on the phone. She looks very perky. And she was like, you made the New York Times list. And not only did you make the list, you're number 7 on the list. So there's 15 slots for nonfiction books. And we were 7. And then we were 10 of all the books. I mean, we were right ahead of Oprah. Oprah, I realized that was a mistake. And if you want me to come on, I will do so. And I'll pay for my own hotel. So anyway, but as we were talking about the book, I was like realizing autism is like a piece of the Wood family, right? And it's a really big piece, but it's made our family so incredible. And not in a way like, oh, you know, this is a gift. Just really more the lesson of like hard things make for good people. And autism is hard. You know, I said I often saw families like mine and I felt pity, but it's not sad. Now there can be times that I've been sad. It's just different. It's a totally different life, but it's a good life. And getting on the New York Times list, like, I really could lay down and cry. It wasn't about Adrian or Kate or Carrie. It was about a group of people saying, it's time for you to have a seat at the table, you know, and a book about autism on the New York Times list. That is amazing. That's the amazing part. And the reason that they allowed it to be on there is because they're saying, you know, you matter. You matter. You have a spot. You are important. You can fit in this world, and we're going to accommodate you, and we're going to help you fit. And it's just, that's the takeaway. That's the takeaway. For me, or what my, you know, heart says. So yes, Kate Swenson, Carrie Cariello, and I wrote this book. The one I'm holding is this very special edition. So Nick Jonas was in New York City, and I was walking by on the street, and I was like, "What's happening here?" And they were like, "Nick Jonas is right there." I was like, "Oh, excuse me, Nick." So Nick signed my book, and then last night, when I was kind of sharing that we made the bestseller list, I went ahead and wrote. Um, and somebody was like, "You have messed up Nick Jonas's book," but I was like, "Well, it's also signed by Adrienne Wood, New York Times bestseller." Um, so anyway, I all my women last night, they all bought the book, and we were all just talking, and it was like, and one of them said, what you're talking about is just life, right? Like life in a nutshell, that things are going to veer off. Somebody's going to veer off the road up. The trolls are out. Do you drink a box of wine every night? Let's see. So I don't even have the people. Where are all my chat filter people? Let's just go ahead and get these people out of here. There we go. Um, you've worked hard, and I'm happy for you. Well, it's really going to be interesting because tonight I have a book signing in my hometown, in Edenton at the Barker House, and I'm really excited to be in my hometown. I think sometimes people in my town don't really know what to do with me. It's like they're just a little bit like, how your dog does their head like this when they seem confused. Like, I think they're like, is she, what, is she nice? Is she, I don't know. Eh, It's just, I think I'm too much for a lot of people. And I get it. My family is too much. We're too much, but like, give me a chance, and just because I tell my story and my truth and everything that pops into my brain, and you don't do that, doesn't mean that there's not room for both of us here. Um, so I hope tonight in Edenton, I hope that a lot of people will come, because that would mean a lot to me. And sometimes it's people that are your friends that are like the ones that don't buy the book or might not show up at the book signing. And so I hope, and it really is a way, as my husband said, to smoke them out. Like, you can kind of see like who really supports you, like, I bought your book. It was good. I'm going to come see you. It's a big deal. It's honestly like if somebody's child comes to your door and they're selling cookies or they're selling popcorn. I mean, oranges. I have bought more junk. If you come to my door and you're peddling something, I will buy it, because I want to. Wrapping paper. Oh gosh, think how much wrapping paper my children have sold over the years. I could have like a car for the amount of wrapping paper that I've sold. And I'm so appreciative. So I'm the last couple of weeks, I feel like I've been an encyclopedia salesman, and so now it seems like it paid off. People bought the book. People like the book. We have hundreds of reviews on Amazon and Book Reads, which is a big review site. Every one of them is a 5-star review, and you can't make people write a 5-star review. If anything, it's shocking because I feel like every day somebody's like, you shouldn't let him eat hot dogs. So to have so much positivity seems bizarre, but really, really appreciative for that. And I think this book, I think we were saying last night, Kate, Carrie, and I were on our Autism Out Loud Facebook page, and Kate said, or Carrie said, I don't have a book. I don't know of any other book written by 3 people. And it was like, wow, it's really true, right? Like, you might get a book written by 2 people. And it didn't even occur to me at the time that like that was going to be unusual. But I really do think it's such a benefit because it's one, everybody's very intrigued with like, how did you get to know them? we got to know each other on the internet. And I think in a day and age where it's like, I'm off social media, like everything's bad about social media, you can see some really good stuff, you know? And I think you can see that, like, you can find a group of people for yourself, and they might not be in your own town. I mean, where I live, there's not a lot of families with children with disabilities. There's a new family, kind of new, but I mean, you know, not very many. And certainly not people that maybe have older children that I know that I can like count on to get some information, you know. It's really nice to have that group. There was a comment I was going to read over on the. It's how I feel. I have a zest for life that has gotten me lost until the book. So great. See you in Florida. Oh yeah, we're going to be in Jupiter, I think in October. My husband has a friend at work whose son is autistic and will purchase your book for him. So the reviews, it's silly. You would think like reviews aren't really a big deal, but they have been for me, not for book selling, but because I'm interested to hear what people think. So to have somebody that's autistic read the book, or I had a mother that said this is spot on. To have a mother of a child with Asperger's, which didn't even used to be in the autism category, say you just caught everything in a nutshell. To have a mother yesterday of a nonverbal 6-year-old say, oh my gosh, like I saw myself in this book. That's what we wanted, you know. Where can you order the book? So you can order the book from duckscottage.com. So my friend Jamie Anderson owns 2 bookstores in Eastern North Carolina, and she is the only retailer, indie bookstore, that's short for independent bookstore, that will have Autism Out Loud signed by Kate, Carrie, Adrian, Cooper, Jack, Amos. So it's really a big deal. So you can support your independent bookstore and you can get a copy of the book by all 6 people. If you don't care about that, you can always order it from Barnes & Noble or Target, or go to your local bookstore, which really helps us, and go and say, hey, will you order Autism Out Loud? That's what I do whenever I leave town, which is not often, but like we had somebody yesterday said they went near Barnes & Noble and like they didn't have any and they ordered 9 while they were standing there. That is huge for us, because that was one thing about getting on the New York Times list is it's awfully hard to get on a list for being the best when you can't even get your book into a store. You know, I mean, you can't sell books if people don't see them. So number 1 on the list, every bookstore we went in, her book had like its own table. I mean, it was like on a silver platter, and we weren't even at the party. So it'd be like, what was your favorite food at the party? The charcuterie board over here that you tried, or those brownies that you heard about? You never tasted them, but you heard they were good. And we were the brownies, and we got on the list. So people just heard that the brownies were good. Right. Love that analogy. Your book is wonderful. My youngest is medically complex. Our journey has profoundly impacted our lives in hard ways and wonderful ways. All 3 kids have a unique perspective on life. Yeah, somebody last night asked me a question about my husband. And so when I was at this book club, all these women knew my husband growing up. And they said, how does Thomas handle all this? And that was really interesting. I was like, you know, he is incredible, and he's naturally incredible. Like I remember years ago when I had started writing, it was still pretty new, and some people fell out of my life, and it felt like ugh, like she's writing, ugh. It just felt like, ugh. I don't know why, but it did anyway. And in life, I think we have a tendency to grasp on to the little hurts, and we got to let those go. So as I say them to you, I'm saying like, let them go. I'm letting those go because there's so much good in a few little hurts, right? And we try to hang on to the hurt. But I was very upset over something, and I said, I just don't know why I'm losing people that I thought were my friends that don't acknowledge what I do or seem to kind of act like what I do is not the right thing to do. And he said, it'll smoke them out. And he's right. Like the people in my hemisphere, I think really do value what I do. And the people that really like me value what I do. And I think there's this thought of like, if somebody doesn't, it's okay. Like, but maybe they're not your person, and you want to make sure you have the right people by your side in life. And so maybe writing this book or living this life has helped me kind of whittle down who wants to be with me because I don't want to spend time with people that aren't going to be there when the going gets tough. You want people you can rely on. And I have my very good friends like I can rely on, and that is important. And I think particularly for an autism family, we need a safe place to fall, and I don't think everybody has that. And I hope the book is that for some people. So every chapter is written by the three of us. So Kate, Adrienne, and Carrie, and each chapter is kind of a standalone chapter. So there's a chapter on education. There's a chapter on anxiety. That's chapter 4. There's a chapter on caregiving and kind of the differences in caregiving and motherhood. And I think that was Kate's idea chapter because I'd never considered the difference in caregiving and motherhood. Not in the way she had. I had always said, like, what is it when you have, to me, it's like having baby birds that are never going to leave the nest. That's caregiving. But anyway, one chapter that we really have not talked about, but last night I was really thinking about is chapter 6, and it's called Building Your Community. And that was a big for me, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it. I certainly never wanted to join the autism club, much less build a community in the disability area. Funny enough, the community building began before the autism diagnosis. I was drowning in questions and fears, and the only way I could figure to unravel those feelings of dread and loneliness was to share them. I couldn't bear the thought of being the object of discussion in our community, of my neighbors and friends whispering about the child who wasn't like the others. I told my husband I was starting a blog and calling it Tales of an Educated Debutante. He promptly said that it was a terrible name and its fate was sealed. It is true. He was like, that is a terrible name. I was like, oh, then I like it. Funny enough, the name was steeped in irony. Though I was educated, I had earned a PhD. My being a debutante was a title earned not by heritage. My parents were Yankees and North Carolina transplants. My invitation to be a debutante was owed to my parents' contributions to the community, a recognition that the young couple from Ohio had carved out a place of belonging in the South. Though the word debutante conjures up images of gentility and perfection, I would reframe the definition. My blog would be a platform for transparency and authenticity. I would break the expected mold and spill the secrets that would drown me if I didn't share them with the world. Always up for a challenge, I created a public page on Facebook and began to write. I divulged my heart and shared most every moment that left an imprint. There were so many in those early days as I grappled with belonging to a child with a disability and becoming a mama bear in a way that hadn't been expected of me with my first 3 children. They were circles that rolled perfectly right into our world, whereas Amos was a square that never seemed to blend in, his edges always too sharp to fit, his differences always glaring.
sharing has lifted me up and made life better. I remember sharing my fears about flying with Amos during the pandemic. He was unable to wear a mask and had been vaccinated, and we longed to see his grandparents after a year of isolation. We made reservations on Delta, which was the only airline that allowed exceptions to the mask policy for people with disabilities, but still I worried, and so I did what I had learned to do. I wrote the airline a letter and acknowledged my own anxiety about flying with a child with autism. I shared how my mind was skipping to a scenario where I imagined crying after being refused admittance onto the airplane. I didn't have to send this letter. I could have just waited until we were at the airport, but I didn't know if it would be an awesome or terrible experience. And if we don't reach out a hand, people don't know we're drowning. I laid all my cards on the table and it paid off. The next day at the airline counter, our family was greeted with love and compassion and acceptance. Um, and I remember people responding, "That's great for you, but what about the other families?" I would tell them that there's never been a moment that I don't think about my community, and I hope that by reaching out a hand to the world will learn to more often look for those who need a hand. We have to start somewhere, and my son Amos is a jar of lightning bugs on a dark summer's night. He sat on that pilot's lap, plopped his cap on his head, and pushed buttons as I held back tears. Kindness felt like rain, and I imagined a world where this sort of thing wouldn't be worth noting because it was so commonplace. Someday, Amos, someday. Um, that's what this book is about. You know, it's about making room for autism and maybe making room for mamas to share their whole hearts and maybe valuing that sharing your whole heart is not something to be scared of, that it's awesome, right? It's really been awesome. And I had somebody say to me, like, well, it's fine for you, but I'm private, which is fine. But I mean, I would tell anybody that, like, it has made my life joyful. And if you are longing for joy, then that is one thing I've learned that has helped me have joy, and that's the sharing part of it. Yeah, you can also order the book on Audible, which we read our own parts. I have not listened to it on Audible yet, but I really enjoyed reading it. Um, I really enjoyed reading it. We're at the airport right now, coming your way. Yay! So I have 110 or 15 people coming to Edenton. A lot of them are getting here today, evidently. And for my third annual Tales Weekend. So they're my subscriber group. I plan a weekend and they come and I don't sit around and talk. We just hang out. We're going to be doing the pilgrimage, which is a big Edenton activity. And I like to boost my small town's economy. I think it's fun to get everybody involved. Everybody is pretty nice. They've gotten used to my people, I think, now. And they're kind of excited when they come. So yesterday, they they the Boogie on Broad, which was we have a band party Friday night, was canceled, and I was the big sponsor for it. So they were like, we have to cancel it. And I was like, well, life. That's what happens, right, in life. And so I took a shower, which is worth noting because it doesn't happen often, and put on nice clothes and marched my fanny around downtown and went in the stores and said, hey, I have my people coming. Could you stay open Friday night an extra hour, um, or actually till 6:30, because there's no band and I have 110 people to entertain and we need something to do. And I think every store, I have one I have to check with today. Every store was like, yes, we would love to stay open. And it was like, wow, that's my community, right? Like that's really awesome. Um, and that's a community that you can depend on where everybody lifts each other up. And I think that's not the talk for today,
but we need to lift each other up. And that might be my next book. I don't know if anybody would buy it, but I was had a meeting yesterday about doing a speaking thing in November, and I do 2 a year for free. So if you have anything you want me to come do for free, you better reach out quick because I have one left. And so that's just important to me. And it's something that I want to really appreciate. And this is like leadership for young girls. And that's pretty incredible. So we were talking about that. And I was saying, you know, my experience has been so good in leadership of like other authors helping and supporting and taught me like how do I help and support other people. And it might be a store downtown, it might be a teacher at school. Like how are you making your community better, and how are you lifting up, particularly other women, um, because we all know that women make the world beautiful. So there you have it. But if you're coming to Edenton this weekend, I'll look forward to seeing you. If you live in Edenton or anywhere nearby, please come to my book signing tonight at the Barker House from 4 to 6. If you have not purchased Autism Out Loud, a New York Times bestseller, please order your copy from wherever you want, Duck's Cottage, Amazon. Go to your local bookstore. That would be my favorite thing. And if they don't have it, say, you've got to order this. It was number 7 on the New York Times bestseller list. So anyway, subscribers, we're going to come over and have a little short chat before I start the morning Olympics, which involves getting autism to school. Bye.